The kitchen was an absolute disaster. There was no food ready. Blake had been making pastries all night and cream puff towers and cakes, and the other guests stayed, but I finally left at around 8 o'clock and the food still hadn't been served.
I mean, is it possible that she was just feeling, I don't know, anxious? Did you witness maybe some rampant anxiety in the context of a dinner party where she didn't really know anyone?
That's very kind of you to want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I didn't see her speak to anybody. Even her family seemed to, her mother and brother seemed to be afraid of her. You don't tell Blake, you have all these people here, we need to feed them. In fact, the kitchen was such a disaster that Vivian and her sister who was visiting were called over at 1 o'clock from our house to come over and help clean. And they were there for an hour cleaning pots and pans and all the things that Blake had made a mess.
Hello beautiful people, it's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video. We're still on the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation. We're going to be checking some couple of videos from creators and people who are sharing their experience on working with Blake Lively and on set and all that. So we're going to be listening to what they've got to say or what they've got to share. Let's check it out.
So I wanted to weigh in on the Blake Lively drama as someone that has worked with her and someone that's worked with directors in Hollywood for over 10 years. I worked at a talent agency and then a management company. And I specifically, at one time, actually worked with Blake Lively. So I want to color in what's going on here. For context, when I worked with Blake, it was one day. She was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This was end of May, beginning of June 2005. I worked on a show that was on the Fuse channel, which was like a local competitor to MTV in New York City. After that, I went on to work in Hollywood at CAA, which is WME's competitor, and then management companies where I worked with directors. So I actually do have a lot of perspective here. In addition to, I grew up on set. I was a local Nepo baby because my parents both worked in sports TV. So I grew up going to set all the time. So when I was interning at the Fuse channel, as I said, this was 2005, end of May, beginning of June, she was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants with 3 of the 4 girls. I don't remember who exactly was there, but it was Blake who was actually terrible and made me cry. So as an intern, we were allowed on set, but and as someone who grew up on set, you don't speak on set. It is quiet on the set because obviously the people with the microphones need to be heard, right? So your job was to just fetch things that various people needed. That day, it was my job to hand out these little water bottles to anyone who needed them. As they were walking to set from their green room, I had to pass them in this extremely narrow hallway, literally necessitating me to go like this against a wall so they could get by. Obviously, they're the priority. They need to get to set. I don't speak to them because, again, being an intern and also just growing up in the industry, you're seen, not heard, right? When you're not talent, you just do what you have to do. Show concludes, and me and all the interns are then brought upstairs for an emergency intern meeting, and they proceed to yell at us for being unprofessional. Now, I'm very confused. I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody was unprofessional that day, at least from what I had observed. And then they asked me to stay after the meeting. So now I'm really, now my red flags are going off, what happened? She, specifically Blake, alleged that I was unprofessional and treated her like a fan. I want to reiterate, I did not speak to her. I had no idea who she was. She hadn't done Gossip Girl yet. This was her breakout thing. Didn't even know her name. I was focused on the next show that I was supposed to help with production, which was a gaming show that we were doing, or a contest show. So I get dressed down for, don't talk to talent, don't treat them like you're a fan. And I'm like, I literally, what? So I guess she went and complained that me specifically, of all the interns, treated her like a fan and she was so uncomfortable. Okay, I'm extremely weirded out. I actually cried on the train home. I used to take the train back to Long Island. I was mortified. Again, not only did I not treat her unprofessionally, but nobody to my experience that I saw spoke to her. This was our 8th show. We knew not to talk to talent. Everybody knew that. Okay, so I wipe it off, whatever. Years go by, I wind up working in a talent agency, and this is where working with directors and experiencing harassment in my own right comes into play. Harassment requires a factor of a power imbalance, okay? So someone lower than you can't really harass you because if you're her level, you can boot them off. She could have booted him off the project if he was legitimately harassing her. Harassment also doesn't occur when your husband is a frequent visitor and presence on set. He was ghostwriting scripts, which is shocking to me as someone who worked with writers and directors. I've never heard of somebody bringing their husband in to do rewrites. That was bizarre. But when you work with directors, typically they are the top dog. He was the bottom dog. It was her with all the leverage. She was the star on this show. So when I saw her interviews playing back, I was immediately, I'd actually kind of forgotten about what had happened when I worked for Fuse or interned at Fuse. I was immediately taken back to when she flipped the narrative on me and acted as if I did all these offensive things, when I want to reiterate I didn't speak to this girl. I did not speak to her. So this girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. So I've never heard of Justin Baldoni. I'm someone who, again, worked with Hollywood directors, never heard of this guy. This might have been his big break. And what I saw is her harassing him. Because again, usually it's the director that's the bigger dog on set. So yeah, they can harass their talent if they're like the much bigger name. But when you're the bigger name, you can have them kicked off set. As obvious as she got him kicked out of WME, which was her talent agency. For clarity, I worked at CAA, which is the competitor, but just as big. So she threw her weight around and was like, okay, me and Ryan want this guy booted out of the agency, which is something the bigger dog can do because they have the leverage. That's how Harvey Weinstein got away with everything, because he had the leverage and he would pick on no-name people or lesser than people, because who's going to believe them over him? You have more to lose if you don't take Ryan and Blake's side. So, having worked in PR, having worked on set, having grown up on set, and having personal experience with Blake doing this to me, she's the problem. There's a reason she feuds with all her co-stars. She had a feud with Anna Kendrick. She had a feud with Leighton Meester. Leighton Meester, who I wound up meeting years later, we were in Mommy and Me classes together. Completely different vibes. Very human, very demure, very nice. Unlike Big Britches Blake. So if you don't know about Hollywood and don't know about these people, allow me to color that experience in. She was the problem.
Obviously, her story has gone viral, and based on what she shared is her experience, obviously, and we're not going to discredit that, obviously, because I mean, lots of things can happen or go on behind the scene on set and all that, and it's evident that everybody sees the power struggle, the power dynamic in this situation, and I mean, it's Blake Lively. Lots of people who saw or who watched Gossip Girl already know Blake Lively. So you already see the power struggle. I also do not even know who Justin Baldoni is. I mean, I watch tons of movies, and sometimes when I see a certain character or certain actor or actress that I don't even know their name, I quickly Google search their names, and like literally their name clicks, and I obviously go to watch a movie that they're featured in. I have never heard of Justin Baldoni before, and Blake Lively, I know, I love her movies. I sometimes I really watch, or I just watch most of the movies that she is featured in, just because it is Blake Lively. And this is the reason why majority of the time I don't like to talk about celebrity dramas or actors and actresses, because sometimes I try to distance whatever happens outside the movie itself from them as an actress, or their personal self or their personality from the movie itself. Obviously, that is what I do. Why I try to stay away from this or from dramas like this. But in this case, you can see the power struggle. You can see who the victim here is. But it seems like in the society we live in currently, lots of people love to play this victim narrative and victimhood because it sells. But let me know what you think, obviously.
I thought I would join in on the Blake Lively drama, since I have some mild experience with her and her brand, I guess. So I actually spent a few years working in different industries. I worked in fashion for a few years, and I also worked a interior design company, which is why I love furniture so much and kind of have an understanding of furniture. And then I worked in fashion for a few years. Specifically, I had worked for a fashion PR company, and then I worked for a brand in their office. I was an account manager for them. While I was working for this fashion company, we had a collaboration with Blake Lively. And just so you know, my time spent in fashion was not great. I definitely felt there was a lot of discrimination in that industry, racism, and I've had personal experiences, but I digress. So this brand that I was working with, they did this collaboration with Blake Lively. They were selling some of their clothing on her new, I guess, Goop style blog or whatever it was. I had never heard of it, and I was just learning about it. And it was called Preserve. So this was maybe 2015, 2015, I would say, when Blake Lively started to give me the ick. We collaborated with her for a very short time because there was this whole scandal about Preserve and how it came out that it was about the antebellum South, and then it came out that she actually had gotten married to Ryan Reynolds on a slave plantation. And we quickly cut ties with the whole project. It eventually just all shut down. So I knew early on that this girl was really weird. She did not give me good vibes. And honestly, Ryan Reynolds also didn't give me good vibes. The fact that they got married on a slave plantation and then like feigned ignorance and, you know, they just didn't know. I mean, that's bullshit. They knew, and they were totally okay with it. I mean, just imagine what her wedding was like. Were there any people at this wedding that looked like myself? Probably not. Who would want to be a guest at this wedding if you're a POC or a Black person? No, you'd be highly offended. So she gave me the ick pretty early on. All my time working in fashion, so this particular company, and this is why I say, and this is just one example of the experiences I've had. So I was an account manager at this company that had like gotten a CFDA award. They were like up and coming. One day, like the CEO or the founder of the company comes downstairs. We're on the website looking at the products, and he looks at the image of the model, and she's a model that looks like me. And he's like, oh, this is why this is not selling. This is why this particular item isn't doing well. Like, the only items that sell well are on white, blonde, blue-eyed women. My coworker was like, hey, you cannot say that. And the response from the founder was, it's true. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's true. This whole time I'm sat there witnessing this, and I'm like, you know, this is over like a decade ago, so I'm still fairly young, just thinking, gosh, like, you know, that girl looks like me. So they don't want girls like me on their website because we don't sell the product. Example of like the many blatant things that were said to me over my time working within the fashion industry. This is not to say that the other industries I've worked in, I now work in tech, have not also been blatantly racist and discriminatory. I have many, many, many stories. I have endless stories of people saying things to me or in front of me that were so incredibly racist that I just was left in shock. That's my many times removed interaction with Blake Lively. She always gave me the ick. I also think that her relationship with Ryan Reynolds is really strange, like the way they troll each other. It's weird. I don't know. They thought it was relatable, but like I would never speak to my spouse like that, and I would not be okay with him speaking to me that way. I am probably not going to go see her movie. And that's a shame because that movie is about an important topic, but I just think they picked the wrong person to represent that topic. Anyhow, I'm finishing my morning coffee. I need to start my day. I look crazy. I'm going to go brush my hair now.
Obviously this is our experience regardless, and everybody's experience is always going to be the same. And when she was talking about this, I remember some time back, I think in the 2015s or 2014s or so, when people really had issue with makeup and, I mean, fashion, outfits or costumes that weren't actually matching darker skin or darker complexions and all that, and lots of people had issues with that. But again, I just want to say something. The fact that she got married on a plantation or whatever is not my concern. I mean, anybody can get married anywhere. I mean, as long as that is their destination to meet for their big day and all that. I don't think that's an issue. I mean, lots of people have destination weddings, and sometimes lots of places mean some things differently to people in different lights or different area. But obviously, talk about experience with Blake. Lots of people don't have quite nice experience with her. I mean, she's Blake Lively. So obviously, people have different experiences and all. But I also love your thoughts, regardless. If you have any, you can share in the comments below.
With all of this Blake Lively drama going on, I thought, okay, might as well hop on here. I'm Blake's age, I believe, and about 15 years ago, I worked on the Gossip Girl set as a production assistant for a couple episodes. It was so cool. I was, still in college, working on the Gossip Girl set during my summer. Don't ask me how I got this. I mean, honestly, luck followed me around at that age. I was studying film and I had friends in the industry and they invited me to work on the Gossip Girl set. And I have to say, it was quite the experience. It was like when the show was trending, everyone loved it. I was going to college in New York City. The cast was all over where I was living in New York City. It was just insane. I ran into so many of them on other multiple occasions. But when I did, I only met Blake once actually. So for the scene that I was working on, it was basically on a beach, I want to say somewhere in Queens, and I was stationed, they stationed me, I think it was a joke that they stationed me in front of like this barricade of paparazzi on the beach, when I look back at it now, I'm like, why would, and even at the time, I was like, why would they put a 5'2" girl in front of all these paparazzi? Like I'm supposed to do something. Actually, I found an image of the scene that they were filming on the beach when I was there. It was this one, and it was like an all-day kind of shoot. So Penn was there. He seemed very nice. He wasn't doing much, but when she came down, I was just so excited to meet her because she was a star of the show. And I mean, she was Serena, and this is when it was like at its height, at its peak. And she kind of came down, like walking down this like sandy hill, I remember, wearing all white. And she was just like the death glare. It was like I was scared to even look at her. She felt like she looked like she was not happy to be there. She's not welcoming. Her and Penn were talking. It didn't look like they were having a lovely conversation. But like I remember the kind of thought that I had when it came to how she presented herself on set. And when I was there in person, the first thought that came to my mind was like Beyonce. Like, so it was strange. And I thought, years later, like, okay, everyone has bad days. Like, we all have like things going on that no one knows about. But it's funny because I met the rest of the cast on multiple occasions and they were nothing but kind and sweet and adorable, especially Chase and Penn were just so sweet. Chase is like a doll. Penn, I'm obsessed with you, literally. But that just kind of the vibe that I got on set. I mean, I was already feeling insecure because she was so pretty. And she was like a big star at the time. And it just made me feel even more insecure. And obviously, like, again, we're all adults, things happen, but I just knew that left a bad taste in my mouth about her. And seeing all these clips, it makes me really upset knowing that this film was so important for DV survivors and she's not really doing them enough justice, while Justin, on the other hand, is really trying to stand up for those people. And I think that this film is such an important film to be speaking out about this thing. And yeah, I'm really disappointed on how she's handling everything. Not that I've ever been through that in my life, but I know people who have, and you just want someone to really help. And it seems like she's out of touch. And then she felt like that when she was, there 15 years ago on the Gossip Girl set. And yeah, I don't know. I can do more like stories about the times I, met Chase Crawford and Penn Badgley. That was really cool. And then the Olsen twins I also interned for. And just Rihanna, so many. I was like, I don't know what happened in my early 20s, but I was meeting everyone and anyone. And now I'm here like, what is my life?
Obviously, this is our experience, and I always say everybody's experience is gonna be different from someone else as well. But again, let's just say in the set on set and all that, sometimes maybe um the heat of the moment, people may be stressed and all that. But let's also not forget that personality, sometimes people can sense or feel the aura of a welcoming personality and somebody who is nice and somebody who is not nice. I mean, we keep saying this on the channel, you cannot fake niceness. And obviously, regarding this movie, you can see who actually cares more about the movie, or who actually cares or put thoughts into the movie and care about the project. And you can see somebody who actually didn't. It's evident. Let me know what you think.
I quite literally never thought I would share this story, but someone shared a video about Blake Lively and like her behavior, and I commented on it, and people were like, tell us the story. Spill the tea, make a video. So here I am. I'm gonna say everything is alleged and my own experience and my opinion, so like, don't sue me, please. Blake and Ryan Reynolds, please don't sue me. So my background, my like credibility and all of this, I guess, is that I grew up in Santa Clarita, California, where there's like a lot of like celebrity children, like child actors, you know what I mean? They ran rampant. Let's just say that. Anyway. And there's a place in Santa Clarita called like a sports complex, and they had a lot of concerts where like people our age at the time could like, their bands could play and we can like go support them and stuff. And it was like actually kind of cool. So this is like circa 2005, 2006. She had just done The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Like, it had just been a movie that no one around me that I knew of had really seen it. I don't, not to be like, no one saw it, but like, no one really saw it, sorry. Anyway, so I went to the sports complex with my friend because she knew someone in the band, and then Blake also was there because this is alleged. I heard that she was dating, I think, the lead singer of the band. I don't really know, but they were friends. Somehow Blake Lively was there. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Just Friends with, ironically, also Ryan Reynolds. But Anna Faris is in it, and she plays this like kind of a crazy kind of person. And I'm not even kidding you. Looking back, I would have thought that Anna Faris was like channeling Blake in one of the scenes. There's a scene where they go to like a small town diner bar, the Maple or whatever, and Anna Faris's character is like, oh my god, I know, it's so exciting. Like, if you haven't seen the movie, you need to, because it's like one of my favorites. Like, it's so good. But Anna Faris's character is like, oh my god, I'm like so famous. Everyone's like bombarding me, but like no one cares. And this is kind of how Blake's behavior was at this like concert. She was wearing like one of those like Paris Hilton trucker hats at the time. Can't confirm if it was like Von Dutch or, you know, Ed Hardy, but it was like a trucker hat. She had her like low rise, like either skinny jeans or like a skirt. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago. But she also had like a little dog with her that was like part of the accessory, if you know what I mean. Because it was like, we saw Paris Hilton do it. So like, it was cool. It was like a cool thing to have as like an accessory was your dog. So the whole time during the show, she just kind of like lurked to the side and was like, the whole time like, oh, so embarrassing. Everyone knows who I am. Like, no autographs. No one was behaving that way. No one really cared. Like, we were all there really like, like a lot of us were like young girls and we're watching the band play. Like, we were more into that than we were into some chick that was just in a movie. Like, it didn't faze any of us because a lot of our peers had been in movies and TV shows and stuff. Like, it wasn't like, oh my god, like, oh, my dog's me. Sorry, she just had something in her throat. She had to clear it. So then after the show, we went, my friend and I, and also Blake and the band, go to In-N-Out because we're young. There's not a lot of other places to like go hang out, but there's like this one specific In-N-Out that like people always kind of end up at, you know, as like a hangout spot. And I would say, just looking back at her behavior, it was very much like, it's gonna sound so mean, and again, alleged, this is just my opinion, this is my experience, it felt very much like, I'm so much better, so much better than you guys, I'm so much better than you guys, I'm so much cooler, and like maybe having that mentality got her where she is today, I don't know, like maybe like walking through life, but it seems very much like it's caught up with her. Like, it's very much where it wasn't like she wasn't like a genuine person. Let's just say that. I don't feel like I had a good experience with her because it's lived with me this long. So I know it's not like the most amazing story. It's not like a huge interaction. I did hang out with her for a little bit, and I think I got to pick up on some social cues. And I think I'd feel very validated in my feelings of like my interaction with her, because I just remember going through my entire life after meeting her when we were like 16, and her, you know, not really people like talking about her like J-Lo, or like, you know, there's other actresses where people are like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, I never really heard anything. No one had done the deep dive interviews. No one has done any of these things where it's like, okay, maybe she's not, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel very validated that my interaction with her, I don't feel like it was very one-off. And I feel like she has not only grown out of that, but she's built it more into her personality. Like that, I don't know how else to explain it, but I don't think she ever learned. And I think right now it's all kind of coming to get her. I don't know. I'm not saying like we need to cancel Blake Lively. I'm just saying throughout my entire existence, I've avoided a lot of movies that she's in just because like I don't like my interaction with her, and I just feel like maybe it was a long time coming. I don't know. But anyway, that's my story. Okay.
I understand what she's trying to say. Obviously, lots of young girls at that age, during that time too, felt like it was cool to be mean, and lots of people practiced it because from majority of the time, people were not called out for being mean or being a terrible person and all that, and they were told to be accepted, and this is like what they built on their personality, and so it stuck with them and all that. So, I mean, lots of us could also tell when we were in high school and all that, meeting people who were mean, all were mean girls and all. And basically, by interaction, you already know that this person is a no-no, and the person has a mean behavior, is a mean, and this is not the kind of person you want to interact with. Obviously, lots of people think it was cool, and if you call those people out, then they do terrible things to you, and they play the victim and all. I mean, lots of people already understand that experience. But again, in this case, we are also seeing the power dynamics in this movie. It ends with us, the Blake Lively and the Sindafam situation. You can see the power dynamics and the power struggle, and who's got the power in this case. So, I mean, with lots of people are sharing their experiences. These are their experiences. And whether you believe it or not, or whether you believe it or not, it's still not going to change that or change the fact that, I mean, there is a power dynamic and something about it seems off. But let me know what you think then.
And I also get her explanation based on what she's saying. She's trying to be careful not to use some kind of words and to share the experience or share the story from the way she sees, and she's trying to be careful with her choice words and all that, because I mean, no, but people really don't want to say the wrong thing, so cancel culture don't come for them, or people don't come for them for attacking or saying not so nice things about their favorite celebrity and all. So I understand the angle where she's coming from. So obviously she may not directly present the message or the story in the best way people were expecting and all. But I mean, not everybody is a great storyteller, and not everybody can put one or two things based on event that happened to them, especially things that happened to them in the past. And some people may not even remember. They may just like, just because something occurred now, then they are trying to be like, refer back or reflect back to the event or the case where something happened and be like, well, yeah, I think I remember something that happened, because lots of people already buried some thoughts that they don't want to experience something like this again, or they don't want to think about their past experience. So I understand where she's coming from, because obviously lots of people would would turn off and be like, well, they didn't get nothing out of it. But I mean, let's also give her the grace to understand that not everybody can best share their experience the way like people expect it to be, because sometimes people really just want to be careful with their words, if you get what I mean.
Something about this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation does not sit right with me. There have been rumors about Blake Lively being a mean girl for like 15 years. She was mean to Leighton Meester. She wasn't a girl's girl to Scarlett Johansson. She was a bitch to Anna Kendrick. Y'all didn't care about any of that. Y'all have been eating her up every year at the Met Gala. Y'all have been swooning over her and Ryan Reynolds. Y'all sold out her hair care line like that. But now that she has beef with a man, a hot man, a self-proclaimed feminist with a podcast, now you're done with her? It doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with my spirit. Here's the thing about misogyny. It doesn't just apply to men's behavior. There are plenty of women out there who are deeply misogynistic. It's believe women until it's some celebrity man that you have a crush on. What have we heard countless times about men in general, men in Hollywood, men who are directors? Blake Lively is incredibly smart. And with the way everyone perceived her after that press tour, do you really think she would pick this fight if there wasn't some substance there? Justin Baldoni gives me incredibly narcissistic vibes. And I'm blown away that more people don't see that.
Okay, the about her talking about Blake Lively experience, people's experience with Blake Lively and being the mean girl and all that, she got me there. But let's also and she's also right about the misogynistic part. But again, let's also not pretend like in this case we cannot see the power struggle or the power dynamics in this place. And Blake Lively is Blake Lively. I mean, let's just be honest. Also not give it. Let's also give them the benefit of the doubt that okay, yeah, something may happen or something transpired in the situation or on set between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, because I mean we really do not know him, so we actually do not know what happened on set between the both of them. Only the both of them know, and only them can come share or say what exactly happened. But in this case, we can see the power dynamics, we can see the power struggle in this case. And I mean, lots of people are just hearing about Justin Baldoni for the first time. Lots of people really do not know him, but lots of people know Blake Lively. I can say that lots of people knew Blake Lively from Gossip Girl. At least if people really do not know Blake Lively or know any of her movies, at least Gossip Girl, I mean, it's almost everywhere. I mean, it was talked about growing up, and it's a high school movie, although though too, and the upper part of the class and lifestyle. So lots of people knew it, but let's not forget the power struggle in this case. But I still would say that something maybe happened on set, but again, let me know what you think.
The first thing people ask me is if Blake Lively is nice. First of all, Happy New Year. I'm in my friend's dress. This is from her donation pile. Like, why do I have this on? First thing people ask me is if Blake Lively is nice. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I tell everyone else. She is so sweet and nice. Her team was lovely when I met them. Before, during, and after. Like, the kindest people, the nicest person. I got great, like, aura and energy from her. That being said, of course, she's like a vested reason to be nice to me. Like, I do hair care content. She's launching a hair care line, you know? But also, a lot of people are actually really mean that you wouldn't even expect, even if they're trying to sell you something, you know? I love the dry shampoo. I bought it myself again. And the conditioner, amazing. Yes, people say it's clunky in your shower, and I'm sure I get that. Sometimes you sacrifice that for aesthetics, but if aesthetics are not important to you, then yeah, it does take up a lot of space. But the products are amazing. She was lovely. And in 2025, can we just like leave behind bandwagon bullying women? Who was the last man that got bandwagon bullied? I literally don't think it happens. I think it just happens to women. And it's like, you and I were not on the set. Unless you were on the set, then you get an opinion. But if you weren't on the set, then like neither of us know anything wiser than the other. So why would we have an opinion on it? I think it's so important to always listen to women and respect women and never bandwagon bully them. But at the same time, like, you and I have no idea what happened. So like, how can we speculate? How can we think we're so self-important to have an opinion on something that we were literally not present for? So in 2025, I would love for men and women to like leave that alone, because I thought we were so evolved and beyond just like bullying random women and canceling, you know, lovely people just because we don't like the way they promoted a movie. Like, that is crazy. I understand people's point on that a little bit, but the reaction did not match that at all. And if a man was promoting a movie and we loved the way he was promoting a movie, no one would ever say anything. So if we could leave that behind in 2025, that would be like the best thing ever for all of us, like collectively.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say something because this video is already becoming a lengthy one. So obviously, she is saying Blake Lively was sweet to her based on her experience too, and talking about people shouldn't have opinion or cancel or be banned or ban it or cancel whatever. But let's even be honest. I don't think people are canceling anybody at this point. People are just pointing out things based on their experience. So let me get this straight. If you have good experience with somebody, doesn't mean other people who had negative or bad experience with the person, it doesn't discredit their experience just because you had a nice experience with the said person. Let me just say that out. But let's also remember that in this same 2025, while we are also trying to believe all women, let's also remember that when a woman does something wrong and she's in the wrong, in this case, you're wrong, then it shouldn't be wrong for women to be held accountable and take responsibility for their action. We shouldn't be condoning some toxic behavior whatsoever just because she's a woman, and let's believe that it should be totally accepted. We shouldn't be doing that. And again, let's also say this: we really do not know what happened on set, so obviously nobody should be having or sharing their thoughts on it. That's quite fine, but let's also not forget that something transpired on set, and people are just speculating, either speculating or sharing their experience based on the person they've worked with. And I mean, we may not know exactly what happened, but the fact that we just want to are expected to blindly believe all women when they make the first cry doesn't even make sense, because obviously there is one side, or there is a truth, and there is his side and her side, and somewhere in between the line there is lies the evidence. Obviously, in this case, you can see the power struggle. Usually, the power struggle or the power dynamics or who's got the higher power or who's got the power in the case usually has to be the man or usually be the man. But in this case, it is the woman. It is Blake. I mean, let's not pretend like lots of people really do not know Blake Lively, and just because it is your favorite artist or your actress or favorite actress or whatever doesn't mean if something is wrong or they notice some kind of behavior in the case where it is not a healthy behavior, it shouldn't be called out. We should stop it because it seems like when women are being called out for some certain behavior, people always want to read of too much meaning to it to think it is negative or it is bad or people are trying to cancel the woman. No, actually, people are doing her a favor because it is only people who like you that will be calling you out when you're in the wrong. And in this case, nobody actually knows who is in the wrong here. Maybe Justin Baldoni did something, or maybe the chemistry was not vibing, or they were not having good vibes on set. Nobody really knows. But in this case, let's not just kill the entire situation just because we want to believe all women. Remember that.
Let me tell you about a time that I had an interaction with Blake Lively. My dad and I were visiting New York City, and we went into the Plaza Hotel downstairs into the new food court area that they have, which actually isn't new anymore because this was in May of 2019. So we walk up to like a seafood vendor, and I'm like looking at the menu because it's above the cash registers and all of that. And next thing I know, my dad just starts chatting to the woman that's in front of us in line. The woman in front of us in line turned out to be Blake Lively. She had her 2 children and was very pregnant at the time. So you can probably Google when she had her 3rd child. And it was not long after May of 2019, I imagine. And she was sampling some chowder or soup that they had. So my dad asked her how the soup was. She answered, and he asked her, you know, are you from here? You know, we're in New York. And she said, no, we're from Connecticut. And she's like, where are you from? All that to say, I mean, she was nice enough. She was answering his questions. She didn't act like, oh my God, why are you even talking to me, you old man? So anyways, just funny that he had no clue who he was even talking to. And I'm standing there like dumbfounded. I may have said a word or two. I get really like shell shocked when I'm around celebrities. And then she checked out and went on her merry way. So yeah, that's the time that I interacted with Blake Lively.
Like I always say, this is our experience and our story, and everyone's experiences is not always going to be the same. People may have different experiences. Doesn't also mean that someone else's experience is not true, or someone may not be sharing the truth based on their experience. Obviously, if somebody else wants to lie, or if people want to lie about their experience, then good on them. But again, people are different based on the interaction they have with people and all. But I mean, lots of people have different experiences. So, what do you really think about it? Because people are going to judge things and use it to judge this situation because based on their experience and how they were being treated in the case. And sometimes some people may also decide to pick sides and all. But I always say you really do not know these people personally, and I mean, even some people that you know personally could shock you. So obviously, in this case, people really do not know what happened or what transpired between both of them. But again, these are people's experiences, whether good or bad, in the case. And let me know what you think really about this, though.
Oh, I'm Team Blake. Oh, I'm Team Justin. No, I'm Team Vindicated Costume Designer. Because you know, when that text message dropped, when it was leaked, she was just like, finally. Finally, somebody knows. I didn't choose that.
Obviously, something funny really happened on set, and that is what we're not getting, or that is what lots of people are not saying.
So what was it like working with Blake Lively on the set of It Ends With Us? Justin Baldoni dropped a number of text messages with crew members detailing just how difficult Blake Lively was to work with. Baldoni claims that since day one of production, she tried to push her weight. She would undermine their wardrobe director and make outfit choices of her own. And rather than showing up to her scheduled fittings, she drove up the budget by having them shuttle all of the clothes to her so that she could try them on. She would often rewrite her lines daily, and apparently she was having Ryan Reynolds, who has no official credit on the film, help her rewrite some of the scenes, which was unbeknownst to Baldoni and the screenwriter. She allegedly also inserted herself into the editing room, would have pages of notes, would have the editors fly to her so she could continue making revisions for her own cut, And when she was unhappy, she had the editor and a composer fired from the film. And even though they tested her edit versus Baldoni's edit in front of audiences, and Baldoni's edit ranked higher, she demanded that Sony release her version of the film. She even tried to bully her way into getting a PGA mark, which is a coveted credit for producers, which Baldoni and Jamie Heath were absolutely against. So much so that they still wrote the letter, but also sent a copy to their attorney saying that this letter was written and signed under duress. Because anytime Blake didn't get her way, she would halt production, she would threaten to quit, and she would threaten to not market the film.
Obviously, something happened on set or something transpired between them. But I always say, like for this case, there you can obviously see the power dynamics and who's got the power and who's got the control and who really cares about the movie and whatever. And let's also not forget that people have shared their experiences, whether good or bad, and it is from the angle or from the way they perceive things. And also not forget that we shouldn't believe everything we hear or we see on social media, because sometimes you don't know which is true and which is not, regardless of the case. Because I mean, some things or two things can be true at the same time. But again, let's not forget that holding a woman accountable in 2025 or calling out a woman for bad behavior doesn't mean people are canceling or people hate on the woman. People are actually doing her a favor. And let us bring back holding women accountable for their action, or and we should stop thinking that being a mean girl, and let's just say it out there, we should stop thinking that being a mean girl is a good thing good thing or encourage mean behavior, regardless of the case. But I really love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Obviously, these are people's experiences from their perspective, the way they saw things. I also love you to share your thoughts and your contribution in the comments down below. You may or may not agree with them, but you can also share your thoughts, and every thought is welcomed here in this on this channel as well.